All right, we are back with another episode of Seminoles Sideline 365. We want to thank you
baby.
for joining us on a Thursday. Thank God it's Thursday. So no matter where you are joining us, it's been a hell of a week in sports and in the world, but we're glad to have you here with us for another episode. We got a lot to talk about. If you haven't seen the thumbnail, from everything from basketball to football, spring practice and pads, and then some NIL issues, which we'll wrap up at the end of here today. So how's it going, Bruce? Where are you at? Where are you at?
Hey, KB, I'm on the road, buddy. I'm in St. Augustine, Florida. Came down to visit some friends. We went out to the beach, the shoreline on the Atlantic, and actually tried to do a little fishing, but the weather rained most of the day. But we've had a good time. I saw some really good beachfront for some shore fishing. So it's been a good day. Everything's a good day, man. How about you?
I got to have Taco Bell for lunch, so that's a good day, I guess. So,
hey.
But yeah,
hey,
it's one of those days where I have, yeah.
Go ahead.
It's one of those days where I have 3 cups on my desk. I have a water cup, a coffee cup, and a cup of whiskey. So that tells you how the week's going.
Hey, right here, buddy. 18. You got to try this. This is
Solera, you know it's good when it's in a plastic bottle. You know it's good when it's in a plastic bottle.
It's not plastic. Listen. Oh, maybe it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe it is.
You can squeeze it out like
no, you can't squeeze this out, dude. It's like a hardened bottle. It's Botran 18-year rum. Oh yeah, look, there you go, Botran. Give it a shot out there. We're not. They're not us. We're not pushing them, but they're not our sponsor yet. Maybe they will be.
Well, there we go. One day.
And well, I've got one right here. There's a lot of stuff that's getting me upset.
Well, if you guys are watching, cheers to your coffee, your tea, whatever you're drinking tonight, water. Cheers to that, and we'll hop right into it.
Don't forget to hydrate.
Yes, water is key. So the first thing on the agenda, I think, for us tonight is we want to talk about, well, obviously the Florida State basketball game. They had an early knockout last afternoon to Syracuse. There's not much to cover there. We're not going to show any highlights because there were no highlights. They got absolutely demolished. Their season comes to a quick end, as it probably should have. They're banged up. They're playing walk-ons. It just wasn't their year. They ended the season with a winning record, which good for him. He salvaged the season as best as possible, but there was just a lot of things that you couldn't overcome this season, and they finished up 8th in the ACC. So we're going to talk about different aspects of the game. Like I said, there's not much to take from the game when you lose by 39 points. What are your main takeaways? Because I know I couldn't watch it because I was working. But what are your main takeaways? And it wasn't worth replaying because of what happened. But what are your main takeaways?
Well, yeah, I think you summarized the season. I think given the situation, first of all, I don't think it was a real talented team this year. Okay, a real talented team. I think number 2, when you take a kind of a maybe average to a little above average team and you throw all these injuries at it and some real youth there, you probably got better results. Coach Ham probably got the most he could out of this team. And I think overall they're like 17-11 if you throw in the tournament or what? It was like that. And they were like 10-10 in the ACC. Mm-hmm. It's not a good Coach Ham year, but however, and here's the issue. They're losing a lot of seniors. A lot of seniors, and I'm not going to name them all. You can look them up. It's real easy. And a lot of them are key seniors that have played a lot of minutes for this team over the last 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. Now, the big question there is, how do they rebuild this team? Because I think next year is going to be a rebuild. They may not have the team next year to go higher than 5th in the ACC, if that. So do you build it through the portal, which I believe is the way to go? You're bringing in guys that haven't gotten minutes someplace, that were highly rated maybe out of high school. They've been in a college program for a year or two. I think they make a better contribution unless you're getting a 5-star All-American McDonald's out of high school.
So, but they did bring in some transfers this past season, though, too. And you kind of saw similar results. And the key thing I think will be there is that, do they get more production from those transfers? I think they will rebuild some areas from the portal because just like in football, you can get immediate production out of those people. Now, basketball, it's different. High school players, the top 50 can make an immediate impact their freshman year. So it's a lot different than football and basketball in terms of players making a year one impact because also they want to go to the NBA right after their freshman year. After playing. So I think it's hard to with Leonard Hamilton. He's not going after. Typically, doesn't go after the one and done guys, just like Kentucky and the Dukes typically do.
But he's had one and done guys. He's had one and done guys.
Yeah, more recently he has because they've been better, and so they've gotten into the mix for more of these 5 stars, be able to get them. But you have guys like Matthew Cleveland. We'll see. He was a top 25 player, I believe, out of high school. We'll see. I mean, he didn't have a great year this year in terms of he wasn't scoring 25 points per game. But
he's a young guy.
On Florida State. No one does on
young
Florida
guy.
State. So we'll see if he comes back. We'll see if he tests the lottery and see if he's going to be a higher pick in the NBA draft.
He's not going to be a lottery pick.
He was a ACC 6-man of the year. So
but he's young. He's young, and if he comes back for a year, it's really going to benefit him, especially if he has a money type year.
Yeah, so I think you'll definitely lose some guys. You'll keep some of your freshmen or keep some of your transfers like Cameron Fletcher from Kentucky who came in. Caleb Mills will be back. So I think you'll have a decent foundation, but like you said, it'll be important who they're able to get in, a couple of key transfers, and then whether the freshmen that they're going to bring in, what impact can they have. I think if injuries destroy them this year, I don't think we need to talk about it ad nauseum. Injuries hurt them a lot. They lost some key leaders on the team. And it came back, and down the stretch, they just couldn't really overcome it. So, I think we just wrap it up there. Tough year. But they do have some talented kids like Jalen Worley. They got, Fletcher now, John Butler, and Matthew. And I think those guys will be back. All 4, Jalen, John, Cameron, and Matthew will all be back. And those are all top 70 players. That should be able to hopefully take the next step in their development. So I'm excited to see that. But you do lose Malik, and he's one of those guys that got hurt, and it was off and on, and then you lose Anthony. So you do, and Raekwon. So you miss proving production, which always hurts. So,
well, I agree with everything you said. I'm a little disappointed in Coach Ham's got this reputation of bringing in the big men, and they've got 3 or 4 big men. But the production of the big men has not been that good the last couple of years. If you really look at the numbers, they're not a big offensive threat. Yes, they do intimidate on the defense end a little bit, but you've never had one big guy that was kind of a double guy, good
Kevin Gelly was a
double-digit guy on rebounds and points,
Yeah, I think the last Kevin Gelly kind of turned into that towards the last year here. But like you said, they typically are supposed to be the kind of clog the middle a little bit and be a rebounder, and that's where they struggled too again this year. I think they ranked 300th in defensive rebounding this year, which is not. I think they were top 10 last year. Offensive rebounding, it was kind of similar, not even top 50. So you didn't see the impact that the big physical Florida State team normally has. In terms of better rebounding numbers, physical, blocking shots. I think they were outside the top 25 in that statistic. So you didn't see the physical presence or development that you would like to see from those guys. But some of those guys, those big 7-footers are young, and you want to see if they can take that next step next year, but that'll remain to be seen. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Thomas Shannon. Tom, thanks for listening in today. We appreciate it very much. Now, before we leave the subject of basketball, okay, and this is important. And KB, I don't know if you have the clip on.
Yeah, I can play the clip.
Let's play the clip to lead us into that. Well, let me set it up for a minute. In the game against Syracuse, right, which we which we get blown out. Now, KB kind of scanned over that a little bit, like, okay, well, we lost. I mean, that was a complete collapse. Now, I know we're walking wounded into the game. I get that. But I don't think Syracuse is some national powerhouse, and they weren't a powerhouse in the ACC.
16. Yeah, they're 16.
But we lost by, I think it was almost 40 points.
39, yeah, 39.
That is a problem, because I think it reflects a little bit of how this team played this year, despite the injuries. Okay, we talked enough about the injuries. Is they were inconsistent, and I think sometimes they rely on the three ball too much. Most teams that rely on a three ball a lot, okay, are going to end up in a 500 type thing. So when the video comes up, I'll shut up. But till it does, I'm going to say this. During the Syracuse game, okay, go ahead.
Here it is. Let's play it.
Okay.
So it's going to rewind back here. It's playing. If you rewind it back here, you're going to see the shot that gets taken here. And this was described
the shot that rocks the college basketball world here, right?
And if nobody knows, if you're kind of not into college basketball yourself, the guy on Syracuse, Buddy Boeheim, is the son of the coach
in the orange.
Yes, in Syracuse, he's the son of the coach.
Now here it is,
legendary coach. Yeah.
Look, he punches Wyatt Wilkes in the stomach. He punches him in the stomach. Okay, do you want to show it one more time or not for people if they haven't seen it? Go ahead.
I think you're on like a massive delay, and I'm showing it again. But yeah, they're seeing it. They're seeing it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, and maybe I'm on a massive delay here from my friend's house, so it's okay, folks. We'll get through it. But here's what I've got to say in a couple of things. We'll spend just a couple minutes on this. First of all, that's a hell of a cheap shot. You're up by how many were they up by at that point?
I think at that point they were up by 19. They were up by 15. It was early in the game, 25-10.
Okay, they're up by 15 points, and Boeheim's son, Buddy Boeheim, takes a cheap shot at Wyatt Wilkes, punches him in the stomach. The referees don't catch it. There's no call, and the Coach Ham, saw it, which he admits to, but there's no review of this play. It's not reviewable. Okay,
I don't think they saw it live.
So my point,
they didn't see it.
Okay, my point is, wait a minute. My point is, it's a cheap shot. Nobody used those words here. Nobody that I've known of has said cheap shot. It's a cheap shot. Okay, that's not a physical play. That's not a physical play to punch a guy in the stomach or in the face or throw an elbow deliberately. Okay, that's a cheap shot. Okay, here's number two. Here's my second point, and then KB, you can weigh in. The second point is, after the game, obviously the reporters saw it. They asked Coach Ham about his feelings, and if anybody has not seen his reaction to it, you should look at it. He gives what one analyst or whoever the guy was says, "Oh, he took the high road." Well, he definitely took the high road. He gets a 10 for taking the high road. But if I was a player on the team, or if I was Wyatt Wilkes, I may take a little bit of offense to it because he never mentions how this was a cheap shot. It was totally unnecessary, but he doesn't use the words. It's almost like he's letting Buddy Boeheim off on this one. Maybe he knows his dad. Maybe, well, I'm sure he knows his dad well. I'm sure he knows him well. But he's almost has a bias in his remarks because of how well he knows his dad. I think he should have said that anybody can have a bad day, but it was a cheap shot. Okay, and then the third thing is really, and I don't know if you have the clip there on Jay Bias, right? Yeah. Jay Biles, and the basketball analyst, TV analyst. He gives a description of what he thought, because Buddy Boeheim, which I agree with, the ACC suspends Buddy Boeheim for their next game, which was played today. Okay, play the clip.
Let me play it. Let me play the clip. This is Jay Bilas's. He's a reporter, sort of well respected by some, and this was his response to the 1-game suspension that they gave Buddy Boeheim in the ACC tournament.
Okay. So what when he gets his clip up, let me say this. Do you get the clip
Dad,
up?
it is up. You're on a massive otherworld delay right now.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
was playing.
Okay.
So I'll let you
Okay.
know when it stops playing.
All right.
And so that
Some of
basically
the
wraps
fans saying
up
there's no.
what he says. So essentially, what he's saying is that the punishment doesn't fit the crime in this case, which I don't totally disagree with. Oh, you can't hear the clip? I don't know why you couldn't hear the clip. I could hear it. Let me try that again one more time and let me know if you guys can hear the oh, here you go. Let's play it one more time. Sorry about that. I just saw the comments. Let's play it.
We're going to get a new technical guy hired.
We're going to upgrade your IT.
Rules,
all right.
And those rules were written for a reason. If the referees by rule could go back and review the play after play had started, that's fine. Then perhaps it's a flagrant 2 and Buddy Boeheim is thrown out of the Florida State game. But after the game is over, then it's over. And just like you can't review somebody stepping out of bounds or review a charged block call after the game, you can't review this. The question is one of proportionality. Nobody's saying that what happened was right. It wasn't. Buddy Boeheim apologized, and that's great. But the ACC should have moved on, and Buddy Boeheim should be playing against Duke. This is the wrong decision made by the ACC, and it's wrong because it's not proportionate. It is not. It's disproportional to the offense, and it goes against the rules of play.
So that's the take there, and thanks for the comments. Sorry about the audio there. I muted the original one. So I kind of agree with him here in terms of the punishment doesn't fit the crime, and that's kind of what Leonard Hamilton was saying in his press conference. If you guys look it up, in that
you agree with that? Do you agree with him?
Let me say what I want to say, and maybe you'll agree. So what he was saying, what Leonard was saying, is that I know the kid. I've been in situations where, you get the best, your emotions get the best of you, and you do things that you regret. And I don't think Buddy Boeheim went into that situation saying, at some moment in time, I'm going to punch this kid in the stomach, or I'm going to, punch him in the back, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think that was a premeditated action and something happened. And so with that, I don't think that one action like that, which could have been and should have been called during the course of a game, but the technical should lead to him being suspended for 40 minutes of the next game, which is likely his last game, because if they lose, he's out and his career is over. They're not making a tournament of any sort. So I do not think the punishment in this case, and what some of our commenters are saying in the chat, fits the crime, because it should have been called, it should have been caught, it would have been given the technical then and there on the spot. And you can't sort of have this revisionist history in terms of what you see happening. I agree with him. I don't think the punishments fit the crime in this case. So that is my take.
Well, I totally disagree. I strongly disagree. I think this kid took a cheap shot. It was totally unnecessary. And he has to pay a price for that. I mean, look at what football players take a price for, sometimes an incidental hit to the head, which they didn't plan to do, but circumstances brought players together that way. They're suspended for the entire game. It could be the entire game if it happens in the first quarter, and a half of the next game.
But we were just complaining about that.
Fifth penalty. This kid would then walk. Whoa. This kid takes a cheap shot. They're up by 15 points. They're likely to win this game. And just because it could influence the next game they play against Duke in the tournament, or it's his last game of his career, I really don't give a rat's, to be honest with you. I think the punishment was fair. And whether it's his last shot, that's on him. He made
All right.
a mental mistake. His anger got a hold of him, and he acted out.
All right. Well, just to
Okay.
go back to the point
That's
you
my
made,
take.
is that just the last episode, you were complaining about the targeting rules and how they need to be fixed. Now you're saying that they should take the
Well, I
same
agree.
steps and eject people for multiple games. So you can't complain about run
No.
and then say they can retroactively and I don't understand that. It seems like they're
I didn't say that. I do think I did say that we should take a look at the targeting thing, but look how stiff that penalty is. There should be a penalty for a deliberate punch. What if he takes the punch and hits him in the mouth? Would there be a difference in that or not?
It would probably be
Is
seen.
the stomach a different area than the nose or the mouth?
It would have probably been seen because it would have been deliberate. He would have had to take the action of thinking, I'm going to punch this guy in the face right now, and I'm going to swing, and I'm going to go up. That action, I don't think it was premeditated. Like, I'm going to go and try to hit this guy in the stomach right now. It was just a reaction and an anger that came out. And so I just we can disagree about this all day. I think he was suspended. End of story. We can't reverse it. But I don't think taking a kid out for 40 minutes is going to solve whatever happened there. I don't think they should have caught it during the course of the game. They should have had the ability to review something like that, assess a technical, and move on with it and have it end there. He didn't go into the crowd.
Why not?
He didn't throw a chair.
Why not?
He didn't do something stupid.
So
like
if a guy,
okay. So I think we leave it at that.
Okay, let's agree to disagree. Let's agree to disagree. But I do agree with you about there should be a review on a play which could be a deliberate, unsportsmanlike, right? It should be, and there should be a penalty assessed. Maybe it's for the rest of that game or something, but nothing, it's not even reviewable. Okay, we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah. All right. So
the next thing we want to,
let me lead because you're, like I said, you're on the master delay. So we're going to move on. Spring football. So obviously pads are now on, which is exciting. So they're semi-hitting. It's not full contact, but they're obviously
the next thing we want. Okay, go ahead.
Oh my God. All right. So we're back in pads now, like I was talking about. And, a couple of guys have been flashing so far. Some of the freshmen, we've been seeing some of the coverage of the quarterbacks, coverage of the running backs, seeing a couple of guys shine here and there. The DBs are showing what they got. Obviously, from what we're hearing from some of the fan posts and blog sites, 24/7, Warchant, those like that, defenses are definitely ahead, but in the spring, that's typically what you see because they have a tighter feel for the playbook. And it's also offense is always trying to get up to speed, learn new plays, get new players integrated into it. And so they're usually playing from behind. So you like to see them catch up and at some point get ahead because you like that offense to be turned on. And you would like to see the offense really come together at some point. But you'll probably see that closer to the spring game, and we'll see how they fare. So who are you hearing? What are you hearing? Who's flashing during the spring practice so far, especially as we've gone into pads and now we're starting to close out week one?
I think it's so early in spring football that pads, no pads, it's really tough. They're still going through conditioning drills, in my opinion. They're still getting used to, they're hitting about 50%. You know what I mean? They're going up, they're lining up and people are pushing each other around. Kind of looks like the NFL Pro Bowl. Have you ever watched one of those? That's the level that we're through. And I understand why. It's a conditioning phase to getting to full pad hitting, but we're in the NFL Pro Bowl stage of practices. They're trying to condition them up. Now, it seems like that the defensive backs, that an area which we have had issues in for the last few years, the defensive backs have been really getting some good credit and kind of showing some flashes. Tate, Cooper, they've been running around and doing a good job picking some balls off and showing good, strong defense. So I think I would give the credit to the defensive backs at this point, because I think it's really difficult to tell anything else. Now, is that because the quarterbacks and the wide receivers are not wired in yet? I'm sure it's a little bit of everything, but I think it's too early to tell at this point, KB, on that.
Yeah, and I'm sharing some footage courtesy of Warchant, some of the coverage that they've been capturing here. And like I said, it's just cool to see some of the quarterbacks and the progressions they're making. It's cool to see Duffy out there going through the drills and stuff like that. And like you said, it's really tough to evaluate where people are in their process, but it's more of, seeing some of these individual drills, seeing who's getting the reps at what time and who they're playing alongside. So it's interesting to see, which players are getting reps with which players, who is lining up for what drills, who's getting to play with the ones, who's getting to play with the twos, seeing some of these individual drills and who's making plays, who's not. Like you said, you can take away certain things from what you see in these practices, videos that is being highlighted here. But a lot of it can change on a weekly basis. So it's really interesting to watch. I enjoy it because it's just cool to see a lot of these freshman faces getting to finally get in pads and seeing what their ability is all about. But nothing's really stood out to me so far other than, as you can see, Brian Courtney, beating Gainer there for a small play on a one-on-one drill. But it'll just be interesting to watch. I really want to see as we progress on which of the receivers start to break out. Because what people are reporting, what some of the blog sites are reporting is that a guy like Johnny Wilson is really starting to click on. He's starting to make a lot of catches during these 7-on-7 drills, during some of these kind of up-tempo drills in the offense. Whereas Micah Pittman hasn't really caught on yet. Whether that's being trying to learn the new offense, or what they've said is he's more of a player that catches on when other players are effective, meaning he's better when other players have more attention on them. So he can kind of be the guy that gets a single coverage and can play within the wake of other players. So from what I've heard, he hasn't caught on it so far as of yet, but he'll always be a weapon in the return game. So I think just that alone, even if he isn't a 600-yard receiver this year, he's going to bring a lot of effort and value in the return game. So, but then, and in terms of the running backs so far, we've seen a lot of flashes from Trey Benson, and that's someone we talked about in our running backs episode that I think a lot of people had concerns about in terms of Trey not being maybe fully healthy from his injury at Oregon. What does his size look like? Stuff like that. But so far, we have seen nothing but highlight clips, like I said, we're analyzing 1 or 2 clips of guys here when they come through. But from what we've seen of Trey so far, the plays he is, and he's playing with the ones from what we've seen, he's been dynamic. His size looks right. His speed looks right. And from every site you read, he looks explosive and ready to play. So that surprised me so far. It's not something I expected. But I'm really excited to see, what he can bring and if he can contribute and be the day one starter. But I'm just grateful to sites like this that bring us kind of some of this video coverage to watch because it's something nice to enjoy at the end of the day for me. Anything to add?
Well, I think from a fan's perspective, who can't get to the practices, obviously, and see this. I'm not sure they're missing a lot at this point by being there. We can catch it off sites, as you mentioned, that are able to post the videos up here for people to see on YouTube. And I like to watch also the coaches' interviews. I watch a lot of those. And, rarely, a lot of times they fluff over stuff. Everything's positive. They don't really hone in on any negatives. And most of the field reporters don't hone in on any negatives either. But one of the names that came up with Coach Dugans in an interview was how Ja'Kai Douglas now is a full-time receiver. He's no longer in the running backs room. Now, that doesn't mean he won't occasionally run the ball, or if they need strength there, they move back. But Ja'Kai Douglas moved over in the wide receiver room, and they are impressed with what he's learning and how quickly he's picking it up because they really love his hands. Okay,
Mhm.
and they believe he can be the ultimate mismatch on the receiver side.
Mhm.
So I agree with that. I think if they can get him the ball, he can do some damage. The other one you already mentioned, Courtney from Ashburn, Virginia, the freshman who's in there in camp, and he apparently is starting. In fact, Coach Mike Novell, he mentioned him by name, which means he's getting some attention. Now, how much impact he'll make is open to question. And then one other name is the portal transfer Deuce Spann. Coach Dugans was asked about Spann, and he was a little hesitant in answering how well he's doing. He said he has a lot of work to do. He needs to, pick up the playbook a little bit quicker, maybe, and he overanalyzes a little too much. He's not able to use his true athletic ability yet. So he seemed to be a little bit behind the curve in terms of the wide receiver room. And that's what I've picked up this week so far.
I think those are some good insights.
Other than that, I think there's not a lot to get out of this so far. No major injuries that I've heard about.
Yeah. No, I think that's, like you said, a big one right there is no major injuries.
Okay.
And I think that those are some good insights, and we'll continue to learn more as the days and weeks go on. So I think that wraps up kind of the spring updates so far, and we'll keep you updated of what we're hearing and seeing, and any commentary notes on that. So I think we go into the last little topic you want to touch on here, which is potentially a little NIL controversy, name, image, likeness. If you're not familiar with that, and kind of the new rage in college sports is the ability for college athletes to make monetary gains off their name, image, likeness. So they can do endorsement deals, they can do sponsorships, and in some part, the university can put these things together by using intermediaries to get these in place. And putting these sponsorships in place for players. And it's now becoming a big part of the recruiting game, but as well as for keeping your current players happy because they want to be compensated as much as a regular employee does at a company. So the more, the better. So I know, Bruce, this is something that you've been researching about a current player on the team, a starter last year, who may not be practicing because he signed an NIL, and he may have not lived up to that commitment, or he's not getting paid from that endorsement deal yet. And so that may have been keeping him off the practice field. Do you want to give us an update on what you've been hearing and finding about that? And we lost him. So we officially lost him. But essentially, this was research that Bruce was doing. The guy we're talking about is Javaris Brownlee. He is a player, a starting defensive back, who, if you don't know who he is, you will best know Javaris as the player who gave up this play last season. So if you're not familiar with Florida State football, or kind of blacked out it from your memory last season, this is who Javaris Brownlee is. And he is the player who, I wouldn't say he's fully responsible, but he is here. He's the player covering right here.
Johnson caught it.
And he's number 3. And
Johnson on his feet. He'll cut back. And Jacksonville State.
So this is basically his highlight from last year: is not making the tackle and then missing. So
Johnson on his feet.
If you were unfamiliar with who Javaris is, that's Javaris Brownlee. He's known for his physicality. He was a freshman last year, so I'm not going to hang that on him. The entire team played bad against Jacksonville State last year, so it's not on him. It was a mental play, and he didn't make it, and we lost. But so with this NIL deal, there's been back and forth on Twitter on people saying that the reason why you aren't seeing him in these practice videos, just like we were playing from Warchant and the walkthroughs and the in-pad practice, is because for some reason an NIL deal went wrong and he didn't live up to his part of the bargain, and there's payment being pending, and he's sitting down until it gets straightened out by either the university or the sponsor. And it's just something that NIL is floating out there. And then there's been vague Twitter posts by other Florida State players like Gant, who have said they don't know what they're talking about and you got to take care of yourself, And so it's now getting kind of interesting. So I know, Bruce, this is something you've been interesting. I didn't feel really comfortable talking about this because I don't like to talk about things unless they're facts yet. But what have you been hearing about this?
Well, I was the one that I'll take the point on this because I was the one that raised it, and I think we should talk about it because I think it's interesting. I mean, this NIL thing is the frontier. It's the wild frontier, and the stories are just going to start coming out, about what's happening, who got what deals, who's driving a new Corvette, why they're driving new Corvette. When can you drive a new Corvette? Do you have to wait to the season? But this thing, first of all, we're not saying he's done anything wrong.
No.
Jarvis Brownlee, we're not saying you've done anything wrong. And the first thing I want to say to Jarvis is this. I'm not like a lot of fans become haters real quick, but they can't play out there on the field like you're playing, okay? They can't run with this guy and make a catch or knock down the ball. So what I'm saying is to you is we're not here to say you're guilty of anything. There are a lot of reports out on social media. That doesn't make them true. And I did, I sent a little note to Jarvis and I said, you're more than welcome to come on. We'd like to hear, your side of it, because if people are throwing mud on you, you have a right to answer and try to clean that mud off. So what has been thrown around is that he has refused to come to practice. And I can't hardly believe that. I'm not even sure that's true. I don't believe that personally. I personally don't believe it. And I also sent a message out to the people that are starting some of these rumors on the internet and on social media. I said, where are we with this story? And these are supposedly experts, and they do this as their full-time job. And they don't answer back. That's not a good indicator to me that these are facts. This may be people just throwing mud at a player, and they're just trying to dishonor him. And I'm not for that at all. I agree with KB. We got to know where the facts are. And I hope that Jarvis will go on or say his side, clear up the story, and move forward. That is the best way to do this. And it doesn't have to be on our show. It can be on our show. We'll welcome you on here with any time that you need. And or go on someone else's show. Doesn't matter to us. But the key is, I'm not sure any of this stuff is true. I can't, and here's why. He's on scholarship. He is on a scholarship. Because he's trying to make an NIL deal, I don't believe has anything to do with his scholarship. If a player is not showing up, he could potentially lose his scholarship and be kicked off the team. I'm sure the legal staff at Florida State, if this was true, would be looking into that. Because Coach Mike, if you're the head coach, you're not going to allow this to happen. This is not NFL. This is not NFL and Aaron Rodgers holding out. This would be the first player probably in college history that would hold out for an NIL deal. He's not going to come into practice. It's required.
Well, the other thing I heard in relation to this is that he may have been paid, like somebody up front didn't fulfill some portion of his contract. And so technically now he's an ineligible athlete because he got paid and didn't do his portion of NIL. So the NIL is invalid. And so now he's ineligible to play college athletics potentially.
Well, why?
Now because
he
got paid to do something as part of an NIL, but didn't. So now he's just being paid as an athlete. And so there's some murkiness. I don't think that's true. Like I said, this is why this whole NIL kind of murkies things up, because usually we would just talk about the on-field plays, the Jacksonville State game, the Miami game, like
it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
But now when you add money into it, people are going to dig for things. They're going to dig, why is he not at practice? Does it has to do with what he's saying? And people look at his Twitter and he says one thing and they take it out of proportion. And that's the thing I hate about this. And now you have this money element that's going to run through this. And if, one day we may see kids hold out for more money. They one day may hold out until they get a 6-figure NIL, and that's when they start coming back to practice because they want the university to facilitate more of these deals for them. I don't know.
Well, here's one thing we know. Here's one thing I do know. I have not heard I haven't heard the coaches talk about it, and I haven't heard Coach Mike mention anything about it. And here's the other thing that's kind of weird, because I haven't heard any FSU sports reporters ask about it that I'm aware of. I could be totally wrong. If I'm wrong, I hope somebody sends us a comment to this show, pin a comment to this show and say, you guys are wrong. Okay. And we'll say we're wrong. I don't have a problem with that, but I haven't heard anybody ask about it when the coach shows up after practice. If I was there, I'd ask the question. It's a valid question, but I don't understand. If you're on scholarship, you've got to follow the rules. Let's make believe there's no NIL at all. I don't think the NIL has changed the rules of honoring your scholarship. I don't think they're hooked together, and I don't think the NCAA has hooked them together. I think the NIL is a separate legal issue of you setting up a company. I think if you set up your own company to do T-shirts, I don't think you have to run it through the university or the NCAA. I may be wrong on that, and I'm going to research it more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's why I think it potentially is something that's precluding him from practicing. There may be some NCAA issue that's saying you're not allowed to practice.
Well, why wouldn't the coaches say that, or the university to protect the individual? What?
Because nobody's asking, so why would you talk about
why isn't anybody asking? Why isn't anybody asking?
I can't tell you that.
All these hotshot reporters, and they're running these full-time sites, and it's their full-time job. This isn't our full-time job. We're not doing this full-time, but I would ask the question, are people afraid to ask these questions that they're going to lock them out of practice? It's a legitimate question, but it helps protect the kid. You know what? We have as coaches and as the university, we want to protect Jarvis Brownlee before other national syndications, Sports Illustrated, which I don't have a love for them at all. Sometimes of the reports they used to do on Florida State back in the day, and start blowing this out of proportion, then you have lost the kid mentally. How does he play football then?
Yeah.
Let's clear this issue up, and let's clean it up. Now, if Jarvis, you can't speak about it because they've said you can't speak about it, then that's fine. I honor that and I applaud you. If players are told, do not speak about this during spring practice, fine. If they've shut down your social media, that's fine. If that's the rules of the team, you should honor it. And we're not here to throw mud at anybody, but let's clean it up, because this NIL thing is just getting started. So that's what I got. And if I get any more, if we get something significant, then we'll do a quick breaking news on it.
Yeah. Like I said, this will be cleared up within a couple of weeks. By the spring game, we're going to know either way what's going on.
Well, let me add one.
Or he won't be. So.
Well, let me add one other thing. It really gets me. It really gets my goat, if that's what you want to say. And I'm trying to use good language here. It really gets me that when people on the net who are supposed to be, and these are names that follow Florida State, and they're pushing out information, and they don't clean up this issue when they start the issue, and they just leave it hanging out there in their cryptic language. That's all bullshit, according to me. We need to get the facts and protect people. If he's done wrong, fine, he's done wrong. If he hasn't done anything wrong, then get off his back, period. Jarvis Brownlee, if you ever want to come on this program, you pin us a comment. We'll be in touch with you, and we'll give you all the time that you want. And that's to any player out there. We're here to help you.
Yep, I agree, and I'll leave it. I'll leave it at one of the last things.
Let me add one other thing. I want to add one other point. 1 or 2 plays does not define a player in any sport.
No.
Okay. And most of the people who are the haters can't play, don't play sports and don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And that's wrong. Leave these guys alone. The coaches will examine their performance.
Yeah.
But get off their back. Okay.
Yeah. I agree. And this is what I'll leave it with. This is one of his last comments, I think, on the story. And it was, about the situation. I think it was a story on frustration with lack of NIL deal. And all he said was, I'm from Miami and football's all I know. So I think he's trying to say here is, like I said, all he cares about is playing football. And that's all kind of we know. This is one of the last real tweets I think he's done, unrelated to it tweets, but this is yesterday. So, we'll keep track of it. We'll see what comes of it. Hopefully, like I said, we can get him back on the field. He was a starter last year, has his ups and downs as a freshman, but I think he really started to come on physically. And, we want him on the field, So, yeah, we'll close it at that. Like I said, we'll keep you updated as we hear more. And if he ever does want to use this show as his microphone, we're happy to have him on board and get his piece out. But we want to respect his privacy as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. Hey,
right.
And I want to apologize to you, KB, and to our listeners if if there was technical problems. I hooked into the friend's Wi-Fi. And now I'm operating off my phone. So, there's technical issues. Get over it. We'll get over it. We'll work through it. But if I caused any, I apologize.
Yeah, we'll hopefully not have that mistake next time. But, yep, thanks you all for
I made a mistake, baby, like any player. Am I going to be chastised for that for the rest of my career here on the radio?
I'll share
TV,
a clip like I did
YouTube.
Tavares. I'll share.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
They should
right,
get
dude.
roasted as much as the players do.
Hey, and meanwhile, I'll go back to my room.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, enjoy your Thursday evening. We'll be back maybe Sunday with another episode of trending topics of FSU. But thanks again for the time. And as always, go Seminoles. Take care, guys.
Love it.
Bye.
Love it. See you. Be safe.